If you are a growth marketer or a young entrepreneur keen to find out how to best choose a tech stack to avoid overpaying, this place is for you. How to choose less to do more. Amongst our guests so far, Mark Randolph, the first CEO and creator of Netflix, Gray Munford, head of communications at Clubhouse, and more. And we've only just started. Myself, Nadya, Birca, the founder of this project, I'm thrilled to invite you to our podcast episode number 3, where alongside my co-moderator, Jonathan Fink, we've discussed with Xenia Muntean, the CEO of Planable, why would social marketers need a tool to help schedule their posts and ads under a single umbrella. Listen up. Xenia Muntean is the CEO and co-founder of Planable, a content marketing collaboration platform. Over 5,000 brands such as Christian Louboutin, Viber, Hyundai, and the United Nations use Planable in their day-to-day operations. Xenia was featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list and spoke on the innovation stage at Cannes Lion in 2018. Hello everyone, excited to be in our third episode here and now with Xenia, who is the CEO of Planable, and Jonathan Fink, who is my co-moderator. Today's session, which is obviously Which Apps for Business, is the podcast name, and we're going to discuss about the app of Planable, which many would refer to as the social media publishing wizard these days, according to a lot of sources. And Xenia today is going to be alongside to help us diverge and go through each and every single piece of Planable to see how to best digest the information, how to best utilize it as a company, but also as an agency, because there's two-way streams on here. So briefly to present, as I said, we have Xenia, we have Jonathan Fink is a co-moderator and is probably one of the most sought after heads of SEO in London at the minute. So we will say and start by saying a warm welcome, Xenia, today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a nice intro.
Thank you as well. And I'd basically put in another banner to say that Xenia is the co-founder of Planable, a social media collaboration and approval platform, as it states on your website. Now, I'd love to hear from you if possible, Xenia. Please kindly let us know in 3 picky adjectives what is Planable, and who don't know yet about the platform, who is Xenia and who is Planable?
Sure. So Planable is a productivity and collaboration tool for social media managers. And I am the CEO and co-founder of the company. I started the company about 5 years ago. And before I was in the agency world, building content for clients. And now I am empowering agencies and other marketers and content creators to be more productive in the way they build content as a team.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great answer. Very concise as well. So to the point. The next question I've got, and basically the way that it would work today, Xenia, because we work on par with Jonathan, it would be 2 questions each. So I'll, diverge with 2 questions, and then John will take over with another 2 questions. But we've got a set of, questions set for you. So I know I've briefed in just to say, if possible, 2 minutes per answer. But obviously we're here to make sure that it's all. Yeah, to make sure it's all useful. Okay, so the next question is, Planable would most likely fit brands that have multiple stakeholders involved in the social media production process, from what I've researched. Please let me know if that's the case or not. But The question here is this where the app idea originated from as well? How did it come about?
So the idea of the app originated from our own personal experiences, the personal experiences of the founders, my experience and my co-founders, Nick. We both worked in the ad world. I had my own social media agency and Nick worked for one. So we saw how the process of building content works and the back and forth and the struggles and the challenges the social media professionals had. So by experiencing that personal struggle, we decided to fix the problem that we were struggling with. So basically scratching our own itch. And that's kind of how Planable was born, from our own personal challenges and frustrations that we had in our own day-to-day work.
So you've started as an agency founder yourself, you had the challenges yourself,
Yeah.
and you basically found a gap in the market to be able to cover it off. So it wasn't the case that you found like a similar platform to the idea that you have out there in the,
No.
wide world.
Not at all. Not at all. We actually found that there are competitors, because every company has competitors, but we found out about our competitors very late into the process. And I think, this space being such a competitive one, I think it's to the best that we didn't do our research very well, because maybe we would have been discouraged and we wouldn't have started Planable and would have built, such an awesome solution for marketers. But no, we didn't know about any other platforms out there specifically for collaboration. We obviously knew about Hootsuite and Buffer and the social media scheduling tools of the world, but nothing like what we were trying to build.
I mean, that's a fascinating evolution, and I love the idea that you've come from actually creating content from the agency world, which Nadya and I can appreciate, having been both agency side and client side. It's if you build the tool around your problems, it's much more powerful, isn't it?
I agree.
I mean, with that in mind, my question really is, could you describe social media production before and after Planable? Where does it make the really big differences in, say, agencies or content producers who are producing, at scale?
Yeah. So at the moment, the status quo is revolving around spreadsheets, PowerPoints, emails, and a lot of back and forth meetings, calls. So whenever a social media team is preparing content for a client or for their own brand, they usually plan all of that content in a spreadsheet. They discuss it over email. There is a lot of back and forth, a lot of never-ending conversations that happened on in emails and in different threads. And then, the problem of visualizing how that content is going to look like is a big challenge. So a lot of social media professionals have unpublished Facebook, Instagram pages where they go in, they mock up how content is going to look like. They take screenshots and they share it around with clients or with their team. So the communication is fragmented across a lot of tools, and it's not centralized, it's not efficient, and a lot of time is being wasted on formatting spreadsheets and building decks to present your work and centralizing feedback from a lot of the places where that feedback is being communicated by stakeholders. So that's the before. The after now, when you introduce Planable, you have a more smooth process where everyone is literally on the same page. They can see pixel perfect previews of how their content is going to look like. So we display the actual live preview of the content. And it's a more delightful way of working, a more clear way of working, because they can see exactly what their work is going to look like in the end. And also everyone who needs to be involved in the process, the core social media team, but also stakeholders, right? Like translators or product team or HR professionals, managers, the CEO, whoever needs to be involved in the process, they can literally have access to the content, visualize the editorial calendar, and collaborate in real time with the entire team. We also have the publishing, obviously, so we do the scheduling, but that's just as a consequence of the entire coordination or orchestration of the content for social. So when you introduce Planable, what you get is a lot of time saved, more efficiency, and a more united team, a more aligned team over the communication on social.
I guess that also feeds into the quality as well, because my next question really is, back in the day before using this tool, if you wanted to actually get either internal team or the client to understand what these ads look like, and obviously that can be quite complex, you can have a lot of different formats, you actually had to sort of mock up a fake account, which isn't particularly easy, and it's not necessarily representative of your live campaign. So how have you revolutionized that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So before Planable, in my own agency days, what I was doing, and a lot of people out there are still doing it. A lot of professionals are still doing it. I had a Photoshop file with different formats of posts, and I was like photoshopping how a client's timeline on Facebook, or how the layout on Instagram, the grid layout on Instagram is going to look like. And then I got smarter and I created these fake unpublished pages where I could actually create stuff and make it a bit quicker in terms of the process. And the way we are revolutionizing this is by allowing you to create content in a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get type of format, where while you're creating the content already looks like the live thing. So you can see different formats, how a carousel post is going to look like, how a tweet is going to look like, what your video on YouTube is going to look like, what your TikTok is going to look like on mobile. So all of the things, all of the accuracy really helps the creators, first of all, understand what their work is going to look like. Second, avoid any mistakes, like, the Twitter cards not cropping the image where it's supposed to be cropping it, or the carousel post or the layout on Instagram not showing up as you'd like it to look like. So that's the first thing. You experience the work as though it's live. And then the second thing is that you can actually sleep at night, not knowing that you're not going to have last minute surprises with posts publishing in a way that you didn't intend them to publish to look. So those are the things that we're helping social media professionals with.
Yeah, coding not working, that kind of stuff. All the nightmares that happen. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Xenia, quick one. This is actually off the rails as a question, just coming out of the context. You're saying in the agency side, my end at the minute, basically to streamline the work with my teams, I'm trying to figure out a way as to find a platform that would be friendly with so many other forms of content. So to give you an example, we've tried some other competitors of yours in the past. We didn't quite knew that there were so many other opportunities to test various ways. But basically what we've done was we've tried and see the uploads of Instagram stories before they would be seen, on the feed and all that. And it wasn't necessarily a feature that was available in that platform. There are others, for instance, TikTok has their other feed videos that you can, upload. The Instagram Reels, again, is another feature which wasn't available in that other platform. Again, for the accuracy perspective, I'm not going to share the name.
Of course.
It's very close to yours, actually. Maybe they've copied you. I don't know. But the question mark is, how would you clarify that within your roadmap? Do you guys have these features already enabled, or are they coming?
Yeah, so we actually already have stories, and we have IGTV as well. We have TikTok. So our mission as a company, our vision as a company, is to become that place that empowers marketers to collaborate on every bit of content as seamlessly as possible. So it is extremely important for us to have a diverse portfolio of social networks connected to Planable, but also a diverse portfolio of content formats. So we always add more channels and more platforms. And in the past couple of quarters, I think we added YouTube, we added Google My Business, we added TikTok, IGTV, and Reels is actually one of the platforms that is definitely on our roadmap, and we intend to add it as soon as possible. But you want a place where you can bring all of your formats. You don't want to have, you don't want to collaborate on tweets and LinkedIn posts in one place, but then have your stories in like a spreadsheet. That is not ideal. So in an ideal world, you'd have a place where you could collaborate on every single format of content for social.
Excellent. That obviously, I would have thought that this is one of those stepping stones in the the entire industry of yours, guys, to be able to figure out whichever platform satisfies those consumer needs first. I suppose it's like within the telecommunication days, back in the days when I was part of Moltel, a company in PR. I remember, whoever launches the 2G first, the 3G first,
right,
it's like the race to it. It's always like the question mark. But it's great that you guys are taking on the consumer pathway into it and trying to work towards it. As the next question is part of it, it's actually related. It's looking into a little bit more longer term views.
Sure. So Reels, just like I mentioned, Reels is definitely one of the things that we wanna add to our platform. And then there's a lot of other features that we're looking, more specific features that would help with going deeper into collaboration. So at the moment, we're helping a lot the teams collaborate more smoothly and build their approval flows, but there's much more that we can do in that space, specifically in terms of how you share content, how you involve other stakeholders, There's a lot of productivity features that I can't yet discuss, but we're really working on them and really working to add them. And also, we're never going to stop adding new platforms and adding new formats of content. So that is, again, so there's two verticals, right? Like it's two axes, almost like the axis of like workflow, productivity, collaboration, and then there's content formats. And we basically try to go, deeper into both axes at a time. So that's kind of the logic with our product roadmap. The beautiful thing about Planable's product roadmap is that it's entirely fueled by our customers. So we collect every bit of feedback that we receive from our customers, and our product roadmap is it's public. So everyone can vote, suggest new ideas, contribute to it, and there's statuses in terms of like what's cooking, what we're building, what's in progress, what we have already launched. And people can either vote existing product ideas, but also suggest new ones. So we're always, trying to build our product hand in hand with our customers, because, that's who we're building our product for. So it makes, most sense.
Thank you. I think I've actually seen that roadmap online of yours where, you can vote. Hence why you've actually tapped into the next question quite nicely. John, would you like to take this one? Because I'm talking too much now.
Yes, obviously, yeah. So Planable, isn't the only app with these similar goals. It may be at the cutting edge of innovation, but an agency like me might be a little bit confused about what the differences are. So really, could you differentiate, yourself from the competition, and why should we go for Planable as opposed to one of the alternatives?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if we're looking at the entire content or social, there's two spaces that we're part of. One world is the social media management world. So there you have tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Buffer, Agorapulse, a bunch of them, really a lot of tools. Planoly, there's a lot of them. And the idea is that in that space, they're usually not so focused on workflow. It's more about like managing your social media channels, publishing analytics, scheduling, monitoring, all of that stuff that helps you manage your channels. So with that space, we are overlapping just on the publishing side, because they're not doing most of the content management or most of the workflow things that we really, really focus on. So that's what sets us apart, big time from that space. And then we have a couple of direct competitors that are trying to solve the same problem of collaboration and approvals and orchestration of content. And where I think the thing that we do best is that we're really focused on the user experience. And from our customers' feedback, what Planable does better than our competitors is our interface, how smooth it is, how simple it is, how sleek it is, how elegant the entire process and how smooth the entire process is. And I know that sounds like a small thing, everyone can, like, you'd think that everyone can design a good interface, but it's not about that. It's not about like just the layout of the platform. It's about a million small details, a million different things that we're getting right because we're working with our customers so, close, and because we're really, really invested in developing our product. And we have done so. So, I often say that shipping new stuff and improving our product is the heartbeat of our company. And we're doing that a lot. So if you compare our changelog, for example, where we publish, new stuff that's happening in the product, with other changelogs of our competitors, you can definitely see how Planable is very, very much alive. And we're constantly tweaking the product so that it's, better and better and better for our customers, and that our workflow and that the workflow that they can build inside Planable fits as much as possible with what they're trying to do. So user experience and customer service, I guess, is the two things that differentiate us from the more direct competitors.
Yeah, fantastic. And leading on to that, this comes in quite nicely to what the agency I'm part of tries to do. We produce content at scale across multiple markets, multiple languages, and multiple platforms. So from text-based to video and so on, we're producing a lot of assets for .com, but then we're trying to efficiently turn some of those assets into organic and paid content for a variety of ad and social platforms. So how can an agency like us really benefit from incorporating Planable into our process?
Well, first of all, if you're presenting social media work, organic or even paid ad social media work for clients, Planable can help a lot because it gives you a clean interface to communicate with your clients. So it positions you in a more modern way instead of like building this, hacking the process with spreadsheets and emails and potentially confusing the client, potentially generating some misunderstandings because they might not, clearly understand the type of content that you're preparing. You offer them a very clean and clear interface where they can see exactly, and you can help them see exactly the work that you're building for them. So it's basically for the agencies, it's a lot about the internal, saving time, efficiency, helping you scale, but it's also about how you position yourself in front of your clients by implementing a modern, smooth, and very easy solution for them where they can, easily approve and easily see the content that is prepared for them.
That's
brilliant. That's really helpful. Over to you, Nadya.
Thank you, John. So you guys were discussing just most recently the workflow, isn't it? And how Planable can help larger agencies like Jonathan's London-based agency who work with, to give some clients, if you may agree to this, to disclose. But Jonathan is working with some of the strongest clients out there within the FMCG group. So you can tell Unilever, Botanica, Airwick, just to name a few, Lipton, and so many others. It's a myriad of those guys who come for content in need of proper, appetite for these things. And so, I would imagine the need for some custom solutions coming on board and trying to figure out how this type of work stream could actually work with this type of comms. And so all along those lines, I know that from what I've researched so far, please let me know if that's the updated information, or maybe you can have a closer look. But I found a number that you currently serve over 5,000 clients globally, out of which we can name a few, such as United Nations, Viber app, Social Chain, BMW, and so many others. What do you think is helping you when it comes to gathering customer satisfaction reviews there, and are you doing it actively? Just a quick question around the review side.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is on the reviews side, there is so many places where we collect feedback and reviews. So we're most present on G2 Crowd and Capterra, and we do have a program where we, obviously incentivize our customers to give us as many reviews, honest reviews as they possibly can. So whenever we have an interaction with our customers, we're obviously, suggesting the fact that they could potentially leave a review. But G2 Crowd is probably the best space where we collect the most reviews at the moment. And then for our internal process, we collect NPS surveys. So we definitely, Net Promoter Score, we definitely ask our customers from 1 to 10, how much would they recommend us to a friend or a colleague? So those are kind of the places where we do that. It's happening most of the times organically. We do have, as I mentioned, a program in place, but most of the times whenever people are happy with their experience, they want to leave a review. They want to tell the world, that this, there's this tool that helps them a lot with their work. And most of the growth, actually, besides the reviews, a lot of our growth, a lot of our customers have come exactly from places like that, from organic word of mouth, organic buzz that is happening. People just writing about us, tweeting about us, or like writing a review on their blog or writing a review on G2 Crowd. And it's most of the times like happening organic until, a year or two ago, we didn't even invest in advertising. It was really all inbound.
So that's interesting. From that perspective, just a question. I know you haven't had to read into the questions up front, which is, probably the best practice in terms of having the interview, a little bit uncensored and all that. But from that perspective, curious for the audience that might ask questions around the fundraising for startups and how much that has, touched you guys.
Yeah, so we definitely are VC backed. So we're not a bootstrapped company. We have raised funds from our first months as a company. So we went through 3 fundraising rounds so far, investment rounds so far. The first one was like a family angel investment, I would say, family fund investment, and then the second was an accelerator. So we went through Techstars London, and then the third one is a seed round. I can't share the numbers exactly, but but people usually know what's the ballpark of a seed round.
The next question is actually either, John, you'd like me to handle it, or whichever way, because this is something that is connected to the previous question, but in a delicate, smoother way.
John, I'll ask the difficult questions. Yeah. How's that?
Here you go. Go ahead. Here you go.
I mean, at various points in my career, I've tried to build tools, and I work for a software company, so I'm absolutely fascinated by the mechanics of an operation, and especially a successful tools operation, because the risks, I think, are very high, aren't they, going into the market? I mean, many concepts fail. So the fact that you succeeded and are growing in terms of audience and revenue is incredible. But how does that look like internally? I mean, what are your biggest challenges and costs, for instance, human resources, R&D, testing, customer acquisition? I think for anyone looking to build a tool or to develop that capability within their agency, it's a fascinating but quite a closed book as to how you actually do that and run the P&L, as it were.
Yeah, so in terms of the biggest investments in the company, I would say it's definitely the human resources. It's the people in the company, so the salaries, because it's a lot about building the product, as I mentioned before. So like engineering resources, engineering talent, and the people that are driving, the company. Nowadays, building a startup in terms of the services like the hosting and the servers, that's pretty affordable, especially in the beginning when you don't have a lot of scale. Those costs have obviously scaled in time the more and more we grew, but the people and the talent is still probably the biggest investment, the biggest expense bucket that we have at the moment. Other expenses and with that also in the same pot, it's like the events that we're building internally, the culture that we're growing, the perks and the benefits that we're offering. All of that comes into probably the biggest pot. And then the second would probably be marketing nowadays, since we're very, very focused on scaling and getting more growth. And as I mentioned, a year or two before, we didn't invest that much in advertising or sponsorships or partnerships. And nowadays we're doing that more and more. So that bucket is growing as well, quite a lot. And I seen the question that, R&D was, a big thing. So R&D is definitely, I kind of put it in the same, because we do it internally. I put it in the same category as talent and people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I read somewhere that hiring the wrong people can cost a company multiples of their salary, in terms of lost opportunity and mistakes and so on. So how do you ensure you get the right people with this sort of passion and vision as well as the skills?
That's a tough question. I don't know how I've done it so far, honestly, because I think we were extremely lucky, and we probably did some things very right, because we had very little people, leaving the company. Until now, we had probably 1 or 2 people in the past 5 years that left the company, or that we had to let them go. So yeah, it's extremely good question. I think it's a lot about focusing on the culture. And I know that might sound silly, but I often ask myself if I want to spend 8 to 10 hours with someone in the same room every single day. Do I feel like I have a lot to learn from them? Are they better than the current team at some specific things that we're looking to add? So it is a lot about the culture fit, and it's a lot about the chemistry, beyond obviously the fundamentals that need to be there, like the talent and the skills. I think we did some mistakes in the past where we overlooked, we were desperate to hire as quick as possible, and we overlooked this culture thing. We thought that, we're going to get along, it's fine. And it never is. There needs to be a very good, strong alignment of values. And that is super important for us. And I think that's kind of the thing that helped us in the long way.
Fantastic. And a lot of traditional businesses would define success in terms of revenue, but I think with tech businesses there are more complex ways to measure success. So for you, what are those sort of less tangible KPIs beyond just revenue?
I think this one with the people, the turnover of the team. I think that is for me personally as a CEO, that is a big success KPI. Knowing that, there is a practical business explanation. Like you mentioned, losing someone or hiring not the right person, that definitely makes a big impact in terms of money as well. But personally, for me, that is definitely a success KPI. And also in terms of the customers, it's the NPS score that we're building, and that is way high compared with the standard benchmarks. The happiness of the customers is one of the big things. We might not have the scale of bigger companies, but we know that we have like a small fan base of people that really love the product. And as they say it in the startup world, I don't know whose quote this belongs to, but in the beginning, in your early days, it is extremely important to build something that 10 people love and are passionate about, rather than 1,000 people that find it moderately useful. So that's kind of the mentality that we tried to build along the way. Because we are in a niche, right? Like our product represents a specific niche, collaboration for social media professionals. So it's extremely important for us, when we grow, to grow in such a way that we have this passionate fan base of people that really love the product. And that's how we've done it so far.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Over to you, Nadya.
Thank you, John. My next question is actually connected to the long-term vision of the brand. Therefore, the question would sound: best case scenario for Planable in the distant future is?
To become the standard for creative collaboration.
The synonym world, as in Google it and then
exactly to become a verb. To become a verb. Planable it.
Yeah, nice. That basically means erasing your competition.
yeah.
Right, and then in terms of making sure that you get to that goal, what needs to happen to get you there?
Wow, 1,000 things, probably. I think in order for us to become the standard for creative collaboration, we need to continue growing the team and building the talent, scaling the team, but also scaling the product, making sure that we're always on top of what's happening in the content marketing world, always catching up quickly with the new trends and the new formats and the new platforms. And so far we've been doing it, but we want to we need to make sure that we're doing it at the quicker pace. Like TikTok has exploded in 2020, and we've added it in 2021. So we want to keep the same pace of adding new channels and new formats into Planable. And I think in order for Planable to become this creative collaboration standard for marketers out there, we need to have the most platforms and the most channels and the most formats of content inside the platform, so that we can become this home of the branded content of marketers. I think that is the path to get to this vision that we have.
Interesting. And, you've mentioned briefly about the keeping pace with the trends, your end, and how important that is to innovate as you go and make sure that, you're alongside those other appetites in the world of social media to be able to cover that demand. So you've mentioned TikTok as one of the, uprising platforms out there. I'd be keen to get your view in terms of the current social media platforms. And to give an example, short-form video obviously is one of those ad formats that is gaining traction for a lot of platforms. They're actually competing for views in that node. Like most recently, YouTube has launched in May 21 YouTube Shorts. It's not made it available for ads at all. It's basically investing at the minute in just consumer creation for the actual UGC part of it. Hence why it's very interesting to figure out, what are the upcoming trends in this world. Do you have your own forecast or, your own presentiment towards it as to which of these platforms is probably catching up closer to what consumers want more out of it?
I agree with you. I think short form and video in general, but more specifically short form and potentially ephemeral type of content are the ones that are going to conquer the world. And I have high hopes for TikTok. Actually, I think what they're doing is incredible. I was skeptical in the beginning, like every millennial out there. But then, it really, I became a little bit obsessed with TikTok recently. So I think what they're doing is amazing. They're definitely on the forefront of innovation out there. And just like you mentioned, Nadya, a lot of other companies are trying to catch up with them. Some others, successfully. It's still some others, less successfully, like Twitter, that closed their fleets with their kind of variation on stories, but also video formats as well. Now, let's see what's going to happen with YouTube. It's very soon to say if this is going to be a successful one. I haven't heard too much about it, to be honest, at least not from our customers. We launched YouTube and we haven't had one request for that format of content. So that's a data point for me, at least. But definitely we're betting a lot on YouTube. And that's why, in the last quarter we added on video. And that's what, why in the last quarter we've added TikTok, which is video. We added IGTV, which is video. We are planning to add, we added YouTube, which is again video. And we're going to add Reels as well, which is again video. I think video is going to eat the world.
Actually, on this note, just a quick one. And I know this is a little bit of the base, so I'll be quick here. Have you heard of an app called Pictory?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
Basically what it does, it's allowing you to upload. Say, for instance, we've done this podcasting episode as a video, right? You upload it into the platform and it comes up with captions ready-made. So you only would just, edit those captions. The nice thing about it, it also allows you to input the visuals that would represent those captions in case you would want to, skip the video part that you recorded and instead utilize some, pre-made GIFs or images or whichever other forms of visuals. The part that I noticed about Pictory is that they are interestingly making this content available not just in the form of how you would upload it into YouTube, which is the most common is the horizontal form, but they're also making it available from the very start if you want to just transition it as you made it in Canva, for instance, into a vertical format, which would be then applicable to shorts and the short form video content, which I just find fascinating where the industry is going with this adaptations to trends.
I think landscape video is a bit overdated. We consume content on mobile. So the horizontal one is, the portrait one is, I think the more and more you're going to see the B2B apps that help you build content, I think the standard is going to become more and more like the portrait vertical options and not the landscape ones, because it's just what the consumer wants. I don't want to flip my phone and try to watch it in a landscape version. I want to watch it on mobile, in a mobile format. So that's what the future is going to look like.
I do agree. We're actually going to repurpose this content as well and make it in a vertical form, just as you can see it here. It will split into three, so it's going to be that action. All right, the next question is for Jonathan. Here we go. Pass me over.
So, as your role of the the supreme leader, as it were, of your company and the founder, I really want to understand, how's your routine changed? How's your life changed? How do you plan out your day now that you've got potentially a lot more responsibilities, but there's a lot of wheels and cogs to manage in this machine you've built?
I think the first thing that popped in my mind is that I am living in my calendar much more than I would have ever imagined. I'm so dependent on it. I wake up with my calendar. I go to sleep with my calendar. It all revolves around it. I have everything in it, both my personal life. I mean, I heard Gary Vee, I think, has lunch and shower and everything to the minute in his calendar. So it's not that crazy, not yet, at least. I hope it's never going to get to that place. But, I really, really depend on my calendar quite a lot. I use blocks of time whenever I need to, do deep thinking, whenever I started, putting my lunch as well, because sometimes it just happens for my calendar to get overbooked and I never get to eat, and that's not okay. So, it's a lot within the calendar. And it obviously has become a more busy lifestyle, but it became gradually. So there wasn't, that shock that you'd, expect. So I think my dependence on the calendar is the first thing that I'm thinking about. And then the number of meetings obviously has changed a lot. There is a lot. If in the beginning I was super executional, I was, actually like writing articles and being super involved in marketing. Nowadays, we have an amazingly talented CMO in our team, and I am almost not involved in the marketing side of things at all. I'm more on the sales and customer side and building the team. So my roles and responsibilities have changed, and that has influenced how much execution I get to do. And that's, less and less the more the company grows. And I think that's kind of, how it's supposed to be. That's a normal pathway. But yeah, that's how it changed for me personally.
And it must have been a tremendous learning experience as well, with a very high learning curve, let's say.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about that journey and what you've learned along the way, what you might even do differently if you could rerun the clock?
Yeah. So this question with the doing things differently, I will disappoint you. I don't have an answer for it. I don't know. I don't have the capacity of like thinking things in the past, like changing things. I don't see the point of it, to be honest. I try to think, more about the future and like what I can do, and the present, the present problems and the present challenges. Maybe once, maybe in 10, 20 years, if Planable is, has become bigger, or we're, IPO'd, or I transitioned out of Planable, or we sold the company, or there's some kind of event, I get to sit and think about what I would have done differently. But right now, I just don't have the bandwidth or the space to think about like past experiences and what I would have done differently. But in terms of the learning experience, it's incredible. I have changed personally as a professional so much, and I'm happy that I managed to personally grow at the same speed that the company was growing. That's a challenge for a lot of people, and I'm anxious to keep the same growth, to develop myself as a CEO and as a leader at the same pace as the company is growing. It's extremely important. I haven't had this experience. This is like my first startup, my first tech company that I'm building. I had an agency, but it's a very, very different business. So it was definitely a lot of adjustment. I've never had a team that as big as we currently have at Planable. So definitely a lot of new challenges. And it never stops. You never stop growing. You never stop learning. And that is the beauty of, building a company.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Nadya, finally, I think you've got a handful of questions left, so it's over to you.
You are correct, Jonathan. We're actually approaching to the final, hence why trying to keep it up to our initial promise. Thank you, everyone, for doing the right thing, the questions and the answers bit. What I've got here is my next question is connected to what you guys have been discussing earlier around the routine and the type of optimization tools that we might use in our working environment as well to help us mentally sane, be mentally sane, but at the same time, progress with our needs on a personal development note. So what I'm going to ask here is if you could please reveal, Xenia, here, which apps do you use yourself for business to optimize your operations, acquisitions, and general workflow?
Yeah, so for productivity, I'm a big productivity geek. I'm a fan of products that help you save time. Obviously, we're building one, so I have to be obsessed with productivity tools. My favorite ones that I'm using day to day is, since I live in my calendar and I live in my email, those two ones are extremely important. So I use Superhuman, which is the best email client out there. I highly recommend them. And then for calendars, I use Vimcal. So Vimcal is, again, a tool that really helps you with saving time on, like, navigating through your calendar, sharing availability with others, getting things booked, blocked, all of the tasks that a busy professional does in their calendar. Vimcal helps you with this. And then for tasks, my to-do list and our entire team to-do list is in Sansama. That's a tool that really helps you with managing your tasks. It's super simple, it's super straightforward. It integrates with things like with more complicated project management systems like Asana or Jira or other systems like that. But it's super focused on to-dos, what you need to do today, what you need to do tomorrow, and so on. So those are the tools that I really, really love for like project management and for productivity and day-to-day work.
And just a very quick one. Thank you for the answer. You've almost answered everything in terms of marketing, because I'm a marketer by nature and by background. I'm interested to find out, how do you optimize your marketing operations, please?
Yeah, well, besides using Planable ourselves, there's a bunch.
Media bit. You've got other channels as well.
But there's a bit of tools that we're using for analytics specifically. We really love a product called Inner Trends. So Inner Trends gives you a lot. Yeah, it's a really great startup that is doing a lot of stuff in the analytics on the commercial growth marketing side, customer side. We're using Intercom for everything customer service and customer communication. We're using let me think about. We're currently experimenting with a tool called Mutiny, which does a lot of like website personalization based on demographics of your visitors. We're using Avoma, which is a really good tool for sales teams. That really helps you record your conversations and gives you call insights and call analytics. Let me look at my tab. What else do I have open in here? Those are kind of the basic ones that pop in my mind.
I love the level of automation, Xenia, and the fact that you've obviously seems to have got a tool for pretty much the most keen and workflow operations out there with higher traffic and the need. So that speaks up for the fact that as a software company, you guys need to move fast, effectively, and by moving fast, you need to adapt and utilize so many other tools out there. And because the podcast name as well is Which Apps for Business, right. It's actually the core question that I've left at the very end, and that I'm going to ask every single guest at the podcast to be able to share their expertise along those sides, because in every single business it's pretty much a customized view. You need to figure out how that works best for you as a company, and then based on your needs as well. And we're approaching probably the last question. John, would you like to take on that one? I'm happy to share.
Yes, the last one. Yeah, well, is there anything at all that we haven't asked, which I know everyone has their favorite questions and their most hated questions in interviews, but is there anything we didn't ask that you think would be useful for the audience?
Well, that's a good one. I think we were quite, we covered a lot of the things. Both the company, the inside of the company, both our tools, tech, the Planable side. I think you were very exhaustive with your list of questions. So I can't think of anything else, to be honest.
Nice one. That's this best answer means that we've come prepared.
I agree. Yes, that's definitely true.
It's been such a pleasure, Xenia. I'm really glad that we've connected. Really glad that we've had this time together today, and for everyone's input into it. And hopefully this would be very useful for people who would connect and listen to afterwards, because it would be a lot of promos made after the event as well, because it won't be just seated out there on our platforms. We just need to make it heard. So thank you so much. And by that, what I would say is actually put a banner out there and say it's been great to have you in.
Thank you a lot for having me here. It was I had a blast. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. Speak soon and have a great end of week ahead, because it's only going to be a few days left.
Thank you so much. It's a huge pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.